Today marks 2 years since the attack that led to the war between Israel and Hamas. On a quiet Saturday morning, Hamas-led militants stormed into southern Israel, killing 1,200 people and kidnapping hundreds more. Israel responded with an aerial assault in Gaza and then a massive ground offensive. Over the past 2 years, there have been some sporadic stops in the fighting and hostage and prisoner exchanges, but a lasting peace deal has thus far proved to be elusive. Israel has faced international pressure to stop the war and has been accused of attempted genocide. Meanwhile, Hamas has been accused of using civilians as human shields and refusing to release all of those held captive, and also blocking attempts to provide international aid. At this very moment, President Trump's 20-point plan is on the table, with many hoping this could finally lead to some semblance of peace.
We're calling the entire world and President Trump to make the deal happen.
All right, so for more on events today happening in Israel, I want to bring in CBS News reporter Haley Ott, who is joining me this morning from Tel Aviv. Haley, it's good to see you on this very solemn day. How are Israelis marking this horrific anniversary?
Hello, Vlad. We're here in Hostage Square, which has been a gathering place for Israelis since that attack 2 years ago. Events are organized for later in the day, but even now it's around 5 p.m. here. People have been stopping by to visit with one another and offer one another support. And as you say, today is a very somber day here. Everyone we've spoken to can't believe that it's been 2 years since the October 7th attack, and that there are Israeli hostages who have been in captivity for that entire time. 48 total, around 20 of whom are believed to still be alive. For many Israelis, their main priority has been getting those hostages home and ending the war. And some people are really frustrated with the Israeli government for not doing more to secure a deal to do that earlier. We spoke to one former hostage, Ohad Ben-Ami, at his now destroyed home in Kibbutz Be'eri, one of the communities that was hit the hardest on October 7th 2 years ago. He was abducted and held in Hamas tunnels. In February, after 491 days in captivity, he was released as part of a limited hostage and prisoner exchange. He told us now, 2 years after the October 7th attack, that he's deeply hopeful for a deal that would bring the remaining hostages home. Here's what he had to say.
I'm here with you, and I speak and I talk, but in my mind, I'm down there. So until they won't come back, all the 48, I cannot live. I'm still a hostage. I'm a free man, but not in my soul.
Ben-Ami said that only when all the remaining hostages are back will he be able to start to heal. Vlad.
Yeah, and Haley, I mean, I'm just listening to him. It reminds me that while this war still rages on, there are many people, not only those who were the lucky ones who were able to finally come home, having been released by Hamas, but their families who haven't even processed the trauma yet. The fact that he still says that he feels as if he's still trapped in that tunnel, still trapped in that hole, is incredibly horrific. And we haven't even begun to deal with the psychic pain that people will be feeling long after they come home. So let's talk about what's going on in Gaza. What is the situation there? We know that the president of the United States has implored Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop the bombing while this negotiation takes place. What are you hearing is happening?
Yes, well, even on this very somber day here in Israel, the war in Gaza grinds on. Over 67,000 people have been killed there over the last 2 years, according to the Hamas-run Ministry of Health. And the humanitarian situation, as you outlined earlier, there is catastrophic. And we know that Israeli strikes in Gaza have continued in advance of and during the talks that are taking place in Egypt. I was in southern Israel on Sunday and heard a number of very loud explosions coming from Gaza. And our teams both in southern Israel today and inside Gaza today also report hearing loud strikes. And Gaza's health ministry says at least 116 people have been killed there since the White House announced its 20-point peace plan.
All right, Haley Ott reporting on the ground for us in Hostage Square, Tel Aviv this morning. Haley, thank you very much. Appreciate it. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand, who can give us the perspective from the White House. So, Natalie, those peace talks between Israel and Hamas, as we indicated, are underway, happening right now in Egypt. What are the prospects of a deal? I know the President of the United States wants to make this happen.
Yeah, Vlad, and he's signaled optimism, but the president has also urged negotiators to move fast. It's now day 2 of these indirect talks happening in Egypt, and we know the administration's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, is involved, as well as the president's son-in-law and Middle East advisor during the first Trump administration, Jared Kushner. Now, we don't yet have an update from them or the White House on where things currently stand. Perhaps we'll get one later today, but we do know that the most immediate goal is finalizing this immediate ceasefire and hostage release deal. The president hoping that this moves fast. Here's more of what he had to say yesterday.
And I think Hamas now has been, all I can say is they've been fine. They've been fine. I hope it's going to continue that way. I think it will. I really think we're going to have a deal. We have a really good chance of making a deal, and it'll be a lasting deal. We want to have peace.
And on this somber day, the president also scheduled to meet later this afternoon with freed Israeli-American hostage Eden Alexander, just 21 years old. You may remember he was freed back in May. That was seen as a goodwill gesture by Hamas back then to try to lay the groundwork for an eventual ceasefire.
Yeah, so many people are hoping, as you know, Natalie, that this peace deal happens. But there are also a lot of people who are incredibly skeptical. I was texting earlier with friends of mine who are in Israel who are cautiously optimistic, but time and time again, they've seen hope dashed when a deal seems within reach. So what is at stake for the president if he is not able to bring Prime Minister Netanyahu and Hamas to some type of an agreement that brings those 48 hostages home and ends the bombing in in Gaza, rather?
Yeah, Vlad, as you know, this has been a top priority for the administration when it comes to foreign policy from day one. So there's a lot of pressure riding on this. And again, that immediate goal of the hostage release and ceasefire is really what the administration hopes will bring momentum to delivering on some of the other goals of the president's 20-point plan, which he outlined last week at the White House. There are some elements of that Hamas signaled in that statement last week that they still want to negotiate regarding disarmament and also, future governance of Gaza. That is seen to be some of the more difficult pieces of this conversation. So really, what remains unclear here is how long will these technical talks go on? The White House, the administration at this point, not willing to put a timeline or deadline on that, Vlad.
All right, Natalie Brand reporting from the White House for us. Natalie, all eyes on what is happening in Egypt. Thank you very much. There is a new 4-part scripted series on Paramount Plus. It's called Red Alert, and it tells the true stories of those impacted the morning of October 7th, 2023. It was released today to coincide with the commemorations. Here's a quick preview.
افتحوا الشباك.
Earlier, my colleague Errol Barnett asked the series creator and its executive producer what motivated them to share these stories.
We decided to try to find stories that we can tell as a scripted drama. And those are true story based on research. And as we interviewed people that were there, we found that there are amazing stories of real people, just regular folks, that are facing those circumstances and are standing up to it in acts of courage, of selflessness, of grace.
I think the one thing that was really important for me as I spent a lot of time filming there was that these people, after they were attacked, after they were traumatized, then the world turned against them. And these are the very people that need to feel love and to be held. And they felt alone and isolated. So I felt like an obligation to tell their story.
Red Alert is streaming now on Paramount Plus, which, like CBS News, we're proud to say, is owned by Paramount Skydance. Later this hour, we're going to have much more stories as we commemorate the 2 years since those horrific attacks. We're going to speak with a relative of a 3-year-old girl named Abigail who was taken hostage that day and later rescued.